When we talk about creating a template or using a template in Revit, when we start a brand new drawing, we can start the project with a template. You can pick Browse and use some of the other templates that come with Revit, or you can create a new project template. Here, when you create a new project, or in the application menu, you can save your file as a new template. This way you can load all of those settings, like the family files, the project information, the predefined fill patterns, line styles, line weights, any geometry, print settings, visibility graphics, and shared parameters that you'd like to include in your project. There are model lines that are in the Home tab that I'm sure you've seen, and in the Annotate tab there are detail lines. The biggest difference is that the model lines will appear in the 3D model, and the detail lines will be more view specific. Revit has set them up so that you can see that there's a little bit of a difference in the color to distinguish between those two lines. When you draw either one of these types of lines, notice that there's a line style panel that shows you a drop down of all the different line styles. We have hidden lines and medium lines, and those are based on a line pattern. So let's take a look at the line patterns and then create our own line pattern and line style. In the Manage tab, we'll go to Additional Settings and pick Line Patterns. Here you can take a look at some of these patterns by highlighting, for instance, Center, and then pick Edit. Inside the center line pattern, you have the type, which is either a dash, a dot, or a space, and the value is how long that dash or that space is, and then the name of the line pattern. So what we're going to do is something a little bit different. We're going to use Morse code to establish our name in Morse code as a line pattern. We'll ignore that you're going to put 3 dots between these characters because in this line pattern there's only one space between. You determine the length or value of that distance. And there is only a maximum of 20 different types. So if your name is long, like my whole name Janice, I won't be able to create one with my whole name, so do a minimum of your first 3 or 4 letters of your name. So back here where it says Line Patterns, we'll pick the New button and then enter the letters that you're going to use for your Morse code line pattern. With a minimum of 3 letters, you can make the name of your line pattern the name that you choose, your name, and then looking at my name in Morse code, this file is posted on Blackboard for your reference. I would have a dot, dash, 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 and then up here a dot, dash, and another dash and dot. So if I start with a dot and 3 dashes, I can make here the first one a dot, the second one a space, the third one a dash, and then a space, a dash, and then a space, and then another dash. The dots are going to be automatically given a value, so we won't put a value for the dots, but we can use different dimensions for your space. So for instance, for my space, I might use 1/8 inch and the dash 1/4 inch. So the space 1/8 inch dash 1/4 inch. And I'll continue this pattern. I'll make this a space. Then I'll find my next Morse code letter, which is an A, which will be another dot and a dash. So pause the video and take a look at your Morse code name and determine your line pattern. Okay, so taking a look at my name, I have a dot, dash, 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 dot, dash, and I continue down here to line 16 with the letters J-A-N in Morse code. All the spaces will be an 1/8 inch and all the dashes a 1/4. The dots will already be predetermined, so we don't put a value in for the dots, but we will need a space at the very end because every dot or dash needs a space after it. And now if I pick OK, you can see that I've created a line pattern that's unique from the other line patterns. I can go ahead and pick OK. And now if I go to additional settings and down to line styles, we can pick the new button to create a new subcategory, and we can call it My Line and pick OK. And for your line, you can change the line weight to something bolder like 7. And this is where we change the line pattern from solid to your name, the one that you just created. You can change the color also if you like. Pick OK. And then with either a model line or a detail line, you'll be able to change the line style to My Line. When you draw your line, you'll see the customized line style that you created with your own line pattern, line weight, and color. I'll go ahead and delete these 2 lines. And let's take a look in the Manage tab at Fill Patterns. Going to the Manage tab, pick Additional Settings, and then pick Fill Patterns. We've been in this dialog box before in this course, creating a fill pattern for our railing, but this time we're going to take a look at creating custom fill patterns. With both drafting and model pattern type, if you highlight the pattern and pick Edit, you'll see that some of them are using the simple customization and creating lines at a specific angle that either are parallel or cross each other. And others, when you highlight them and pick Edit, are using a custom imported file. So let's take a look at those custom imported files. We'll go to the Model Pattern Type. There's a file in the Revit Program folder that's called revit.pat. You may have to use Windows Explorer to search for that revit.pat file. It could be nested within the hidden folders. If you open that file using Notepad, there's a description of model versus drafting patterns that tells you that the model patterns are used for the real-world elements on the model, like brick and shingles, and that the drafting patterns are used in a paper unit most commonly for those details that we're going to be working with. But if you scroll down, you'll see the beginnings of each of the patterns and how they were customized. Some of the patterns have several lines that make up this complex pattern, and others are just a series of a couple of lines. Like for instance, this section here showing the block that's 8 by 8. If you take a look at the numbers, the first number represents the angle. The second and third number represent the X and Y starting point. The fourth number represents the X shift and where it starts. And the fifth number is the Y shift and where it starts. And then the sixth number is the length of the pen when it's down, which in this case is 8. And then the last number represents the length of the pen when it's raised or when it's up. So let's take a look at creating our own. And our own pattern will start with an asterisk and the name of the pattern, and then the next line, as you can see here, is always a semicolon, percentage, and then uppercase type equals model. Starting Notepad, we can, in Windows 7, go to All Programs, and then in the Accessories folder, you can open up Notepad here. We'll type in asterisk and then my pattern and then semicolon, percentage, and then uppercase type equal model. The next line we'll start with the angle. We'll type in 0 for the angle degrees, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, and that's the origin. So 0 for the degrees, another 2 zeros for the x and the y, 0, and then comma 4, comma 4, and that would be to start the line over 4 and up 4, the next line, and then comma 2 to draw a line that's 2 inches, comma -6 to say that there are 6 inches between every 2-inch dash. So if we save this one, put it in a folder that you're saving your files in, and then eventually you can copy paste it into this Revit, but for now we'll keep it as a separate pattern that we can import. If you save it, we'll come back to it, so don't close it out, because we're going to look at the preview of it and then we'll add another line. You can minimize or close the Revit PAT file, which you can take a look at later on at all of the different patterns. I can go ahead and minimize that. And then we're going to pick in front of model for the pattern type, and then pick new, pick custom, and then type in for the name my pattern, pick import, and then navigate to that pattern that you just created in Notepad. You can go ahead and click on my pattern, and you should see the preview, and it should look like this one, where there's a little 2-inch line with 6 inches where the pen was lifted up, and the other lines are staggered by a shift of 4, 4 for an X shift and a Y shift. Now if we want to go back to Notepad and add another line, we can type in 90 for a line that's 90 degrees, comma 0, comma 0, starting at 0, comma 0, comma 2, comma 2, so that it's a smaller shift in the X and the Y, and then 2 for the pen to draw a 2-inch line, comma -2 to lift the pen, -2. If we save this file, go back into the Revit Add Surface Pattern dialog box and pick Import, and bring that file back in again or import it again, you'll see that the preview is showing another line that's drawn at an angle of 90 instead of just the straight lines. And that 90-degree line is drawn every 2 inches. So drawn 2 and then up 2, drawn 2, up 2. So you can change here the numbers in Notepad to customize your own pattern, or use this one if you'd like. I'll go ahead and pick OK, and now there's your pattern. I'll go ahead and pick OK, and then there's your pattern. If you pick OK, and then go to the Annotate tab and create a region that's a filled region, you can draw a rectangle and then pick Finish Edit Mode. By picking Edit Type, under Fill Pattern, you can change the fill pattern to your pattern called My Pattern. We did use the model pattern type. We can highlight My Pattern and pick OK and Apply, and you'll see that your new pattern is applied to that fill region. If you'd like to take a look at the custom fill patterns that Revit has in their help string, you can type in pat or pattern up here and then navigate to this creating a custom fill pattern, and then click on custom pattern files and creating a custom pattern. And here, creating a custom pattern, they show us how to create a complex pattern of octagons and squares. Using the same concept, they're using an asterisk before the header name, and then semicolon percentage type equals model, and describing here what the numbers mean, the X and Y shift, and the X and Y origin, and the angle of the line, pen up and pen down, and each line now represents a different portion of that pattern. So we have here an angle of 0, an angle of 90, and you can see the different lines that make up that pattern for a more complex pattern. If you'd like to know more about patterns, there are others available online as free downloads.